now we have this note for presentation.
So like I'm not loud as Boo, since like he's a teacher, I think he projects his voice better than I do, but like if you cannot hear me, then let me know. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about screen addictions, but I think coming from like self-reflections and what to do about it. So if you have any questions at the end, then let me know. So we all use our TV, phones, what else, like computers. So when does it become a problem? So we'll talk about how screen addictions, let's talk about screen addiction and how it affects us, how it impacts our lives. So when we think about like our screen addictions, right? Whether we have a screen addictions or not, then like ask like ourselves, like how many hours, like do we each spend our time on our phones or computers or TVs? Next slide. So it's not about like even like the hours that we spend on our screens. It's more about kind of like, you know, like is it like, if we say, okay, today I'm gonna let myself like go like on my screen for 8 hours, we plan it out, right? But sometimes screen addictions, like we don't plan it out. It's compulsive. So we say like, well, I'll turn it off in 5 minutes. Well, we don't turn it off in 5 minutes. We'll be like, you know, like we turn it off like after an hour, 2 hours. Or it's like some students even told me that like they stayed up the whole night or didn't study for their tests because they were on their screens. So that's when it becomes a problem. So like in kind of like we ask ourselves, right? Like, are we like excessive user or like a compulsive user? So I think Ruth and Sydney talk about this already. So it's up there in case like, you know, for you to see. But then can you go to the next slide since you just guessed that already? So warning signs, like losing track of time. So we say like 5 minutes, but then like, you know, it's like 7 a.m., right? And we still haven't stopped. Trouble focusing, skipping meals or sleep to be on our screen. Feeling anxious offline, some people. So feeling anxious offline for some people too, when they don't have their phone with them or like some sort of like, you know, like their Apple Watch or something like that, they will feel anxious. Some people go to school or like even go to work and they forget their cell phone and they don't feel right, right? And then the last thing is like, you're arguing about screen time. So they kind of like self-conflict, like, you know, arguing with themselves, like how much time do they want to give themselves, but also, you know, with parents or with teachers, right? So I think Sydney has touched on this already. You know, like we get addicted to screen because, like, you know, for apps they use likes and streaks to hook you in. So this triggers like dopamine, your brain reward chemical. Over time, you crave more to feel the same. Oops, next one. Okay. So why students may be addicted to screen? So instant reward from likes. Escape from boredom, stress, or loneliness. I think that kind of talk to kind of like for some people, they use screen as an escape from like depression or anxiety or other kind of issues they have as well. So like for that, like sometimes like students with ADHD or some type of learning problems, sometimes to, you know, avoid studying, they will be on the streets. So like sometimes we have to watch for, you know, what's the reasons students use their phone or their screens. Easy access to fun and connections. They use that to connect to friends and others. Fear of missing out, fear of like, you know, they take a break a day, you know, they don't keep up with their friends and they'll lose friends that way. Part of an everyday habit, before bedtime, meals, breaks, whichever, and then apps are built to be hard to put down. So like if you go on to, I haven't used many apps, so but I use YouTube, and if you scroll down to YouTube's, right, there's always new content coming out. So we develop like the use of apps over time, then it becomes a habit, and then it will be harder to break. why it matters, I think Wu and Sydney talked about this already too. Too much screen time can cause sleep problem, low grade, anxiety, depression, less real world interest, and conflict with others. I gave an example, but I think I think many examples were given. So like, have you ever seen this, in someone that you know before, right? Like, people use their screen and it impacts like their rates or their relationship with other people around them. Okay. So what can you do? Oh my God, I cannot believe that is so small. It's not that small in my printouts, but one is using a tracking apps. I believe that many phones now give you a screen time, right? Like, on average, how many hours do you use your cell phone per week, and when do you use it the most, right? Set an app limits, or you give it to your parents or someone that you trust, to kind of feel that, like, to hold yourself accountable. And then no screen before bedtime, because it will take away, like, your sleep. It will affect our sleep. Pick up hobbies. I like this the most because, it's not about like taking away our screen times, right? But putting in like the hobbies, the stuff that we like in our daily life. And then kind of like the last one is like, ask why the reason you are using your phone. Yeah, I don't know why that is so small, but that's fine. So the challenge is the digital detox. Like, do you know someone who who challenged themselves to go offline for one day or a few weeks, right? So what they do is like, one of the challenge is that like they will put their phone away for a day to see and notice how they feel. What do you do instead, and what do you miss? Right, so that like you can get to know yourself better. Okay? And then, I'm sorry. Where to get help is if you can, like, talk to an adult, a school counselor, or a therapist. Just to see if I have any notes on that. No, I'm good. And then, so my final message is that you don't have to put screen, just take control. Unplug a little, reconnect with what's matter. So it's about like what you put into your life, right? You don't have to start out by like saying like, I use too much and then cut out. You can put activities, just like Girl Scout, Boy Scout, or like some sports, so that it will take times for you. Does it make sense? Any questions?